Hey guys, I'm Chad and this is travel hack video number 15. Today I'm going to go into the effects of travel hacking on getting a loan. Now, one thing before we get started is this is all about my experience. I'm just your average guy who got into travel hacking. If you guys have watched my previous videos, I got into travel hacking because I'm too big. I'm 6'4", I'm over 200 pounds. I don't fit into coach anymore. I do have, back issues. Sitting in a plane going, halfway around the world is impossible for me anymore. So I started to look for ways that I could get business class fares inexpensively. And during that process, a few years ago, I came across travel hacking. And now, with all the stuff that I've already laid out in my previous videos, I've found a way that I can travel to these places that I want to go essentially free, less than what I would have paid for an economy fare ticket, and I can travel first class, and a lot of times it's free. One of the big things that people always said is, and the way you do this is obviously by accumulating credit card frequent flyer points. You do this through credit cards, and once you accumulate so many points, you can use those points to redeem for free airfare. There are ways to get these points in mass so that you don't have to spend a lot of money necessarily to get them, and that's what all my previous videos went over. But there was always hesitation when going into it. The very first thing that I had hesitation when I got my first card was I was worried that it was going to destroy my credit. And my credit rating was something that I cherished. It had always been right around 800. And I had always had just one credit card, maybe two, that I never rang up that much on, and I had it forever. And as it turns out, I wish I had done things a lot differently, because in my instance, I can apply for many credit cards a year, and I've found that it actually increases my credit score. Right now, my credit scores run anywhere from 800 all the way up to 850, and I've applied for, I don't know, let's see, 4, maybe 5 credit cards this year. In past years, I've applied for 20 credit cards during the year. And the same thing happened to my wife. She also applied for a lot of credit cards. Her credit rating also was pretty stable, or it went up. So if you play the game right and you don't do bad things, you follow the rules, you actually may not hurt your credit at all. And I say may not because this is my story, and I've always followed the rules on what we do. I pay off my credit cards every month. I've put myself into a position where I don't have any debt. So if you do not have good credit, this is not something that you should get into. If you cannot control your finances, if you cannot pay off your credit card every month, do not use the strategies listed in my video. Now that I've stated all that, everybody thought that by applying for 20 credit cards a year, you're going to hurt your credit. And as I've shown, your credit will go down very slightly, but it will rebound. It's really negligible when you apply for credit cards, no matter how many credit cards you apply for. If you do apply for a lot in a short amount of time, it does tend to take off a few extra points, but I've always found that it returns. I've had a real hard time applying for too many cards to where my credit score drops below 800. So I even had mortgage brokers. I have friends who are mortgage brokers who told me that not to do this because it would destroy my credit. And I think you got to be careful getting advice from people who may not know or have just gone with the knowledge that has been beat into everybody, and that is that applying for credit cards is going to hurt your overall credit, which is not necessarily the case. In fact, in most of the cases you find online with people who do travel hack, that is definitely not the case. The next thing was to avoid travel hacking when you are going to get a loan. And a loan could be like a car loan or a mortgage. And in the last couple of years, I've done both of these. I've been heavily into travel hacking. I've applied for multiple cards per month. In the process, I went out and I was actually kind of concerned because we went out to get a new car. We bought a brand new Audi. And when we went to the dealership, I'm going to give you a couple strategies. First, when you go and you get a line of credit, it's best when you're shopping these companies to know what your credit score is. Either you have a credit card which gives you your actual FICO score, which there are a few cards that if you have the card, it'll show you your actual FICO score for whatever credit bureau they're affiliated with, or get something like Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, which will give you a close approximation of your actual credit score. I've found they're all very similar. So even if you don't have a credit card, if you go to Credit Karma or Credit Sesame, those scores that they show you closely approximate where your score is. Know that score. When you go in shopping for credit, when you go into different dealerships, tell them, look, I don't want you to pull my credit until you can tell me that you can give me a good rate based on this credit score that I'm going to tell you, not the credit score that you're going to pull and see that I have, because that gives me the opportunity to go to a different dealership if you give me rates that I don't like. So this gives me the ability to shop around without them doing hard pulls on my credit. If they're doing hard pulls just to see where I'm at, just to find out that I'm an 800 credit score, that's going to push my credit score down with each one of those pulls. Now, again, it's still only a few points. It may be 10 points in some cases. You don't want them to unnecessarily pull that credit if you're not necessarily going to buy a car from them. Look, my credit score is 800. I know it's at about an 800. What kind of rate can you give me? And they can tell you what kind of rate, if you were an 800, they would be able to give you. Now, once you have nailed down a deal, then you allow them to pull your credit, and you're going to get your hard hit at that time. But at least you've had the opportunity to shop around with your credit score that you know in your head before you do that. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what's happened in my personal circumstance. We bought an Audi, told them what our credit score was, made a deal based off of what I told them our credit score was, and then they went and pulled credit to close the deal because they have to verify that. They pulled the credit and nothing about any of my credit card hacking showed up to them. They didn't care about it. In fact, they came back and said that they pulled our credit and it was some of the best credit they had seen all year. So we got our car, and this was at the end of 2017. We bought a brand new 2018 Audi, and they pulled our credit and said we had some of the best credit they had seen all year. And this is even after we had done most of our credit hacking for the entire year, probably at 20 credit cards. So that didn't affect us getting a car loan at all. They don't care. They just cared about the score. That was our experience with going and shopping alone. Now, more recently, we are in the market for a new home. We're actually looking to purchase a piece of land and build a home on it. When you do that, the bank, this is different than a normal style loan where you have a house sitting there and the bank gives you money to get into that house. When the house is already sitting there, there's less risk for the bank to give you a mortgage on it because that house is collateral on your loan. So should you default on the loan, they can take the house, sell the house to pay off the loan. And I say this because we were going after land, and then we were going to purchase the land with a loan, get another loan, a construction loan, and build a house on that. And that's a much higher risk loan because essentially they are giving you money for the land, which is not as saleable as land with a house on it in case I were to default on it. In addition, they're giving us money to put a house on that land, and that house is not there yet. So there's no real collateral on that piece of land to help back up the loan in case we were to default. So it's a much higher risk proposition. Now, we went out and we found a piece of land, and we also got approved for a loan higher than I thought we could. And we got it with two different banks. With one bank, we checked them out, and as it turns out, we decided we wanted a little bit different product. We decided to go with a HELOC, basically using equity in our home that we have to purchase the land for the house that we're going to buy. And the bank that we had that we tested with to get a land and a construction loan did not do HELOC loans and suggested that we go with our personal banking company. So although we had been approved with them for a loan, and this is after a considerable amount of travel hacking, getting credit cards during the year, we went to another bank, and he said basically they just went off of my credit score, which is over 800, to approve us on this loan, to get pre-approval on the loan. Now, when we went and we went to my local banking company to get a HELOC instead of the construction, or instead of the land loan and the construction loan with this company, that bank also pre-approved us for a land loan and a construction loan in addition to our HELOC. It actually surprised me because I didn't think that we would qualify based on my income. My income is very variable year to year. It can, it'll be a certain amount one year. It could be 3 times as much the next year, or it could be less the next year. And it's extremely volatile. So they actually looked at my income and said they're willing to take that risk based on my credit score. And I talked to the loan officer and the person in charge of the loan officers. We went out and had lunch, and I was very frank with them. And I told them what I did. I told them that I was into travel hacking, that I apply for many credit cards a year. And they thought it was kind of odd that my credit score was still so high after applying for as many credit cards as I did. But they said, regardless, my credit history, which is basically the number that they're looking at and seeing that I have nothing that I've defaulted on, is what they go off of to find out whether or not I'm worthy of getting a loan from them. So long as you pay your bills, you pay everything off, at least for me, travel hacking, getting a lot of credit cards hasn't affected me personally with getting an auto loan for a brand new car, hasn't affected me personally for getting a substantial loan for construction and land, and it hasn't affected me for getting a HELOC loan. And that's among 2 different banks for construction and land loans, and one bank, the auto dealership. So I just wanted to come on and let you guys know that's my experience. I know that a lot of people say, hey, if you're planning on getting a mortgage soon, do not get into credit card hacking, travel hacking, because it could affect your ability to get a loan. And I always thought that that was the case, and I'm just here to tell you that in my particular situation, that was not the case for me. Maybe for other people, maybe people who are riding on the edge between, good credit and average credit, then maybe having a lot, where the bank needs to look a little closer at the actual credit report to see whether or not you're somebody that they want to lend to. If you're down between average and above average credit, and maybe that's something that would come up. But in my case, I had high credit. It never came up. It was never a problem. And even the bank officers, the loan officers, told me that they could care less how many credit cards did I apply for. They said if it starts to bring down my score, they monitor it all the time that I have a loan open with them. And if I bring down my score to a certain degree, then they will contact me and we'll have to discuss it. But hopefully this gives you a little bit of background. I know there's a lot of people out there telling you to be careful around a mortgage or be careful around getting a loan. And I would definitely still suggest that you be very careful around getting a loan. But this is my experience that it didn't affect me at all. If you have a great credit history, you're considering travel hacking, but you may have a loan coming up in the future that you're worried about, this is my experience, so you can decide for yourself. Listen, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please subscribe. We need more subscribers. This has turned out to be not profitable at all. So I haven't made very many videos because we just don't have enough content to get up to get enough subscribers to make it so that I can make some money to offset the time that I put into editing these videos. But I always do put links down in the description below to stuff that may help me out. If you apply for a card that we have in the description, I may get points for it, or I may put up an affiliate offer. Usually these don't help out much, but if you're looking for a card, check out my links if you would. I plan to maybe have another video coming out because one other subject that I wanna consolidate before I get going, but this is Travel Hack video number 15. Hopefully we'll have a number 16 coming soon. So thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for checking out the affiliates that I have below in the description below. Thanks a lot. Bye.